So let us go through what we're going to do here in assignment 18, DHCP. Until now, we have configured our networking devices like PC1 here and PC2 and 3 and 4 and so on with static IP addresses. If we bring up Workstation, here I'm in PC3. We have PC3 down here in our diagram. Then we can ping, for example, PC2 on its IP address. We have given PC3 a static IP address. We see that here, the .3 address, indicated over here in our diagram. When we set static IP, this means that the method for acquiring or getting an IP address for this device, in this case PC3, is set to manual. This is synonymous with a static IP address. Let's move over to PC2 and see the settings there. And as down on PC3, we have the same information here. The method for acquiring an IP address is set to manual, which is synonymous with setting a static IP address. And that is what we have done here. If we go back to our diagram now, sometimes we will not just have one networking device as shown here in the diagram on each subnet, but we will have many devices. I have illustrated that here on net 2, that here we have a number of networking devices attached to this network. When we have many devices, it becomes impractical to use static IP addresses, because that would mean that we would have to enter each device and set a static IP and remember what it is and administer these addresses. Luckily, there is a technology called DHCP that will help us out here. What happened here is that our addresses on our devices are now indicated as .dhcp. So what you and I will do here is that we will configure router 1 as being a DHCP server and router 2 as a DHCP server. This means that router 2, for example, in this case, will hand out all the IP addresses to the devices on the net 2 here. So let us see that in action. Simplifying the diagram again and bringing up Workstation. As this is a demonstration, router 1 and router 2 have already been configured as DHCP servers, handing out IP addresses. So we will simply look at the demonstration here, and in the next videos, we will go through how to configure router 1 and router 2 together, step by step. So here as a demonstration, let us switch the network setting for PC2 to DHCP, automatic IP configuration. When you and I look inside the IPv4 settings for PC2, we can see that the method for fetching, getting, acquiring an IP address is set to automatic or DHCP, dynamic host configuration protocol. Let us save that. And we can now choose our DHCP profile here. If we look at the IP address that we have got here, it is 192.168.11.15/24. Over in the diagram, it says DHCP for PC2 So this address here was actually coming from the DHCP server or service running on router 1. As yet one more example, let us look at PC3. Do the same here. Let us switch over to DHCP. And our connection is established. And we can see here that we have got the IP address 192.168.12.16.24 for PC3 here. So this address was handed out by router 2 to our PC3. You and I will together configure router 1 as a DHCP server and router 2 as a DHCP server coming up in the next videos, where I will want you to do this with me step by step.